my song. Let's sing it. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, sing. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
Hiya, everybody. It is I, Jesse Blaze Snider, the Coolest Geek Alive. I love you. Thank you for listening to my show, Care Bear Stare. Our audience keeps growing. We've got new sponsors, and I am excited about it. You know, sponsors are money, and that helps me to be able to make the time every week to do this show, to do my other show, Everything They Don't Want You to Know, every Monday, and hopefully soon bring back my music show, All Your Favorite Bands Suck, which unfortunately got censored by Spotify. They took down our show, but you can still find it on iTunes and everywhere else you might find podcasts. So if you want to check out All Your Favorite Bands Suck, which has 55 of my favorite bands that I've done just profiles on, playing their music and just demonstrating like, where you should start and things that you might love, check it out. And, today's episode is an episode about something that I fucking love. This is essentially a coolest classic, a coolest pick, is something that I think is a definitively awesome thing that I am a fanboy for, and I will always be. And that is In Living Color, which I called it, my little thing, a hilarious family affair. Because not only are the Wayans brothers a family that were ultimately running the show here in a lot of ways, even David Wayans bringing in his buddy Jim Carrey into the fold. But my family would watch this all the time. So I wrote a little bit of a script, for some of these little pieces, just like for the intro, and like just putting a bunch of different credits and information that I wanted to make sure that I remembered, because I haven't slept in almost 3 weeks now. I quit my ADHD medicine, and it has really had an adverse effect on my sleeping. But slowly but surely, I'm sleeping a little bit more, and I am dreaming again, which is nice. And it's all good, but just to make sure that I wasn't forgetting all these facts, because it's been a while. Even though I spent the morning watching a ton of In Living Color clips and a few full sketches and stuff that I remembered or that I wanted to look up and remind myself of. It's been a long time since I've really delved into A Living Color. But I actually already was convincing my roommate Digger that we need to watch some A Living Color tonight, and because he never really watched it at the time. He was building his company, Art Asylum, and he didn't really wasn't really able to get into it. So for me, The Living Color is the shit. I'm looking forward to sharing it with Digger this evening. So let's talk about this thing. Let's get into it. Every Sunday night, the D. Snider family gathered around the TV, united in laughter. In Living Color wasn't just a show, it was an event. It brought us together, challenged norms, and showcased a vibrant tapestry of talent that reflected the world we lived in. For my family, those evenings were sacred. My mom, both my brothers, and I would sit together, eagerly awaiting the next sketch, the next laugh, the next moment of brilliance. It was more than entertainment. It was a bonding experience that strengthened our family ties. I remember every time a commercial would come on, it was just like, wow, fuck, come on, you're just waiting. And you were waiting for the fucking Fly Girls and their little dance numbers, even though I didn't really love the music that was played on In Living Color a lot. And I wasn't into fucking hip-hop dancing and any of that shit. And despite the fact that that was not my family's vibe at all, it didn't matter. The comedy was golden. Golden, golden, golden. And Living Color was a cultural milestone. It provided a platform for diverse voices and perspectives, breaking barriers in mainstream media. The show's bold approach to comedy and social commentary resonated with audiences across the nation, challenging the status quo and paving the way for future generations of performers. Oh boy, did it. And see, already, my whole show is glitching, and I can't exactly tell what is causing the glitches. Probably going to have to take this live thing off of my Facebook and have that, a bunch more glitches. You know what? That sucks. I'm just going to stop it right now because these glitches are a problem. So, all right, I'll just have to pull this from the interwebs later. That's okay. The sound quality won't be quite as good, but I'll have to figure out what's going on with my sound. Anyway, its legacy of laughter persists in today's comedy landscape. The The show's influence can be seen in modern sketch comedy, television, and film. It set the stage for a new era of entertainment that embraces diversity, creativity, and fearless expression. Really, just, I think the fact that the Snider family was so involved in Living Color, that we loved In Living Color so much. We were rockers, and this was a show sort of dedicated, like it aimed at, on some level, a rising hip hop culture, and people who were into rap and music that I was not remotely into at all. But it was great. It was universal. It was impossible to deny. Everybody. Everybody tends to point to Jim Carrey, as being a standout. But dude, he was a standout, and Jim is a standout. But at the same time, the fact that these other castmates were anywhere close to him demonstrates how fucking great they were. I mean, in particular, Keenan Ivory Wayans and his brother Damon Wayans. Oh, they were so great together. And there were so many sketches that was just based on their ability to, as brothers, interact with each other. And it was awesome. But more than that, David Allen Greer and Tommy Davidson and the girls who didn't go on to be quite as famous. So it's harder for me to remember the names, but I have them all written down. They were great. Every last one of like the main cast members had at least a sketch that was their own and was genuinely awesome and genuinely came from their voice and who they were as performers. Every single one of them. I was, just really pleasantly surprised. And I mean, I remembered a lot of this, but I was kind of just like, everybody's got a place to shine here, and it's glorious. It's the best fucking sketch show. David says, check out Papa's House now. Papa's House. Oh, I've never heard of Papa's House. I'll check that out. But yeah, In Living Color, man, my family fucking loved that show.
You ever hit that time of year where everything just feels like it's happening all at once? I call it busy season. Podcasts, music, comics, convention planning, 4 amazing kids, and oh yeah, apparently I should eat. That's why I started using Hungry Root. It's spring and I barely have time to breathe, let alone go grocery shopping or cooking. But thanks to Hungry Root, I can shop on my schedule and still make a healthy home-cooked meal in about 15 minutes. Look, I'm not a celebrity chef. I'm a rock and roll dad trying to avoid takeout and keep my brain and body in peak form. So when I say this feels like having my own personal shopper and nutritionist in one, I mean it. You tell Hungry Root what you like, what you're trying to avoid, what your goals are: gluten-free, dairy-free, gut-friendly, high-protein, anti-inflammatory, you name it. And they just start filling your cart with stuff you'll actually eat. And the wild part? They learn your preferences over time. It's like a smart grocery ninja. The recipes are fast, like really fast, and they've got everything: smoothies, snacks for the kids, ready-to-eat stuff when I'm in studio mode, even supplements. And it's all clean. No junk, no weird preservatives, no high fructose anything. True story, I saved so much time not having to meal plan or shop last week, I used that hour to write the chorus to a brand new song. Hungry Root is feeding my actual creativity. I love Hungry Root. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/CGA and use code CGA. That's hungryroot.com/CGA, code CGA, to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/CGA, code CGA.
I want to talk first about all of these comedy legends, these actors and performers who have gone on to do so many things. Because I mean, a lot of them, though they're not like famous like Jim Carrey or Damon Wayans, they are famous in their own right. They have appeared on a lot of things, and some of them, as I was like going through, just kind of checking everybody's IMDb and like just trying to get some good examples, because I know I've seen these people show up at various times in various films and TV shows and whatnot. I wanted to remember as many of them as I could, especially because, like I said, my love for In Living Color remains strong, even though this is in the 90s. I was a teenager, when I was watching this show with my family. I remember watching in Dix Hills when we lived in Dix Hills. So I was in like 5th, 6th, 7th grade, around there, all gathered around the TV to watch together with my family. And, my dad, he taught me comedy. Comedy was one of the first things that he taught me. And he's a not to say a tough audience. You know, he wants to laugh, but you know, he knows comedy, and I loved anything that I could enjoy with him that would make him laugh. And yeah, Living Color made him laugh. And for me too, I was always kind of learning what was funny by watching what made my dad laugh. And in Living Color, definitely though, like earlier things that I had studied, like the Blues Brothers and Animal House and Monty Python and stuff, I was learning how to be funny, learning what funny was. But by this time, I knew what funny was myself. And it was the first thing that I sort of got to enjoy with my father, shoulder to shoulder, not like him showing me something funny, us sharing in something that was really funny. And I love funny, man. I love funny. I honestly, when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a comedian, and I studied comedy all my life to do that. I got kind of scared away from it at a certain point in my development, but I recently came back, and I actually have done like a half a dozen open mic nights with my own comedy that I've been like writing over the years. And one day you'll probably see me do something because I love comedy. I love making people laugh. I love, you know, being aware of the different comedic voices that are coming up and seeing what they have to say, and watching stand-up and watching sketch comedy shows is something that I do to this day. And some of my most joyful time on planet Earth is watching comedy, experiencing comedy, and making my friends laugh. You know, that's the best. So I wrote, you got to understand, In Living Color wasn't just a sketch show. It was a freaking portal, a cosmic cannon. And once it fired, pop culture would never be the same again. And it's really true. This show launched some of the biggest icons of the last 30 years, and I mean launched. This is where the world first met Jim Carrey, wild-eyed, no-rules, rubber-face, about to become one of the most bankable comedy stars of all time. Jamie Foxx, so naturally funny he could destroy you with a look, and then turn around and win a damn Oscar. Jamie Foxx, that fucking man is so talented, it is unfair. I mean, I like being introduced to Jamie and then being introduced to him on all these other levels. I have been, you know, I'm not much of an idolizer, but he is definitely one of those people who raised the bar for me and made me go, if he could do it, I could do it. I want to be all the things. I want to be able to do all the things. There's no reason why I should limit myself to this or limit myself to that. And don't limit yourself either. You could do all the things if that's what you want to do. And Jamie Foxx, man, he's one of the first people who demonstrated that, or at least for me in my generation. Also, you got Jennifer Lopez, who was just dancing dynamite as one of the Fly Girls before she took over music, movies, and fashion like a one-woman empire. You got Damon Wayans, who's fucking incredible, the mad scientist of sketch, birthing Homie the Clown, and an entire comedic dynasty with his brother. You know, this was Keenen Ivory Wayans' show that he put together, but Damon, he was the breakout. And what a fucking man he is. How fucking awesome is Damon Wayans that he went, you need to get my buddy Jim Carrey on this show, knowing that Jim Carrey was fucking dynamite, that Jim Carrey might be showing up these people on some level, but did that stop him? Did that make him go, nah, I want to shine. I don't want to have anybody who might take a little bit of a shine off of me. No, he didn't. He went, get this motherfucker in here. And then also Keenen Ivory Wayans, who didn't go, I don't know. You know, in this world of entertainment, there are so many big egos who don't want to let another good guy in the door because they're scared that it's going to make them look smaller, even though they don't realize that the more fucking great people you have on a show or on a book or on a project, the better you look. These people were smart enough and brave enough and fucking cool enough to go, yeah, get that white boy in here. And Jim was the lone white man on the show. And he stood out like a sore thumb in the context of the whole crew, but he earned it. And if there's one thing that I want to happen from you watching this show, watching it, is that you go watch it. Go watch In Living Color. Don't just watch me fucking talk about it. Don't listen to me talk about it. Go watch In Living Color. It still holds up to this day, and we're going to get deep into it in just a minute, but I still want to talk about some of these other great actors. David Alan Grier, who was a utility knife of brilliance, equal parts Shakespeare and satire and savage. He's great. He's one of my favorite performers on the show. Love him whenever he shows up to this day. You know, even like little roles like Jumanji and stuff where he plays the police officer that worked for the shoe factory. You know, and he was just great at physical comedy and just had wonderful presence. They all did. Tommy Davidson as well. He was pure lightning. Impressions, voices, energy for days. He did an amazing Michael Jackson doing Black or White. Famously, the sketch ended with a police officer showing up, and he puts out his arm and he says, "Officer, could you tell me if I'm black or white?" And the officer says, "You're under arrest." And Tommy goes, "I must be black." Which was fucking awesome. Kim Wayans, the sister of Keenan and Damon. Oh my God. She is really underrated genius. She carried entire sketches with just a look, and she has multiple that were really wonderful that centered around her, and they just nobody else could have did it. And I'm going to go through some of these sketches a little bit later. And then there's hopefully I'll pronounce her name right, Takea Crystal Kima, who was very soulful, precise, very smart. And she was always kind of the heartbeat of the cast. She was, somebody who was like a bit player most of the time, even though she did have some spots of her own. She did a great little girl voice. Her and Tommy Davidson would both do like little kids. They would play the little kids, and she did. But she was adorable. She was super sweet, and she fit it really well because she was this petite little thing. And like I said, I love the whole cast. At least from like the first 3 seasons, especially like the main cast members, they're all wonderful, charming, and they all went on to do great shit. Also, you got Kim Coles, who I think Kim kind of showed up a little bit later. She wasn't in like some of the early seasons, but charming, hilarious, and she could steal a sketch with one line. She was excellent, and she went on to do a lot of TV. And then of course you had Sean and Marlon Wayans. Sean, who was, I'm pretty sure it was Sean and not Marlon, was the DJ. DJ, fucking, I forgot what his name was, but he was the DJ. They needed a DJ. He wasn't even a DJ, I'm pretty sure. And like he just took over that part. It was all in the family. But of course, he went on to do a lot of great stuff. And in some of the later seasons, they got to play bigger parts in the show. Even though I'm not going to talk about too much of the shit that they did. Most of the greatest sketches from the show came from the first 3 seasons. And then there was a lot of studio interference and bullshit that went on. The behind the scenes of In Living Color is an interesting subject and worth kind of investigating in your own time. But I'm not going to make this show about that at all because I try to keep it to an hour, man. All right. If you want to investigate further. But I say first, watch the fucking show. Awesome. Also, you had Kelly Cofield Park, who was a secret weapon, the glue, sharp, brave, brilliant, and even Paula Abdul, who helped make the Fly Girls a full-blown dance revolution. And occasionally, she would be shown like, our coordinator, Paula Abdul. But really, she was kind of off the beaten path. But from In Living Color, this was a launch pad for her. And, she was actually one of my first favorite pop stars. I love that freaking song, Opposites Attract. And Paula Abdul was cool, man. She could dance. Anyway, this show was the Avengers of sketch comedy. They really were. Before there was an MCU, every week it was like watching gods in disguise step into their power. And really, just all of them were just so powerfully funny and just confident in who they were and what they were there to do, make people laugh. And they did. My whole family, we laughed regularly. I would talk to people at school about that over the years. There's so many people who I've shared my love of In Living Color with, not like introducing it to them, but us talking about, In Living Color and reminiscing on some of the amazing sketches and amazing characters and impressions. So let's break it down for you now. Let's talk about what these icons did after In Living Color kicked open the doors of culture and never looked back, just so you can see how truly huge its contribution to the culture was at the time and has been since. So just talking about something, because some of these people I mentioned, David Allen Greer, maybe you don't know who he is. I mentioned Jumanji. Maybe Tommy Davis, maybe you don't know who he is. And, and maybe you wouldn't recognize the Kim Wayans out of a lineup and some of these other people, but they are great. And you've been seeing them in films and seeing them in things for ages. So I just want to talk about him a little bit. So first up, Keenan Ivory Wayans. He's the visionary architect who built this freaking thing. He made the deals. He got this shit going. He's the creator. He was the host. He was a writer, and he was a performer. And post In Living Color, he's a director. So I had written this down, but I didn't actually check the dates. I'm pretty positive I'm Gonna Get You Sucker was before In Living Color, and I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. If you haven't seen I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, oh my God, it's fucking great. So great, so great. He's the star. It's awesome. It stars tons of these blaxploitation actors from like the 70s and the 80s. people like Pam Grier and Jim Brown, and like just tons of awesome actors who are associated with that time period. But it's in a comedy, and it just conceptualizes, what's the word I'm looking for? This changes the whole framework of that blaxploitation era into the comedy genre, and it is glorious. There's some early appearances by people like Chris Rock. Famous. If you've ever seen the clips going around of him as the man behind, of him trying to pay for food as like a homeless man, and he's asking them how much everything costs, and he's offering them change for a handful of some of the soda, or just a chicken McNugget, a few French fries. It's a glorious moment in the movie, and the movie is filled with glorious moments. If you've never seen I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, I should probably do a Coolest Classic this weekend for Coolest Geek Alive Saturday episode for I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. And in fact, I will. That's what I'm gonna do. So he had a lot that he did. There's a movie called Low Down Dirty Shame, which he starred in. That one's okay, but it's fun. Scary Movie, which he produced, and lots of Wayans are in there, and lots of cast members from In Living Color show up in the original Scary Movie. And Scary Movie 2, which he produced, again, there's a lot of interesting kind of annoying aggravation with the studios and whatnot. The whole Scary Movie franchise was basically stolen from them, even though it's their brand. So, like, this is some bullshit. But White Chicks, which is another great one, another one that he's directed. White Chicks is awesome. The younger Wayans brothers star, and my kids love that movie. Over the years, I was always trying to watch comedy with them and try to find things that were like somewhere within, age range and things like that. That they would appreciate, that maybe would like resonate with them. And sometimes I'd be watching R-rated movies with them, but I'd fast forward through certain things, and I knew that they wouldn't really understand a lot of the jokes that were inappropriate for them. Because I learned from watching tons of inappropriate movies as I was a kid. My dad would always want to show me these funny things, and a lot of times they were very inappropriate. But I didn't know. I never noticed. I couldn't fucking tell that they were inappropriate. It would be years later, I would learn something, and then all of a sudden it would dawn on me, oh, that joke. I was laughing at that for the wrong reason. So, I never really worried too much with my kids, and White Chicks was one that I introduced them to, which they loved. He also did Little Man, Dance Flick, which was the parody of like the dance movies, like was it Save the Last Dance? Was the movie with the white chick learning how to dance hip hop? That movie was ripe for parody. Also as a producer and writer, Hollywood Shuffle in '87, Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood. That's a great one. Not as great as I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, but another great one. And the Keenan Ivory Wayans Show in '97 and '98. And then, of course, he was a judge on Last Comic Standing. Tons of guest appearances on Tonight Show, starring Jimmy Fallon, Inside Comedy, and tons of other places. He's fucking Keenan Ivory Wayans, man. He's the Wayans brother that opened the door for his siblings to go and be the Wayans family, this fucking amazing family of comedy people. And I tell you what, that's what allowed them to bring Jim Carrey into the fucking fold and not have any ego about it. Because they were a family exchanging jokes, and they got used to the idea that everybody was a fucking star and everybody had something funny to say and something good to say and was worth your time, and you didn't have to be intimidated by somebody else's light. What a great lesson for everybody out there. The Living Color, I know on some level, is teaching that spiritual lesson. You don't got to be afraid of somebody else's light. You're awesome. Go out and do your fucking thing, and don't be afraid that Jim Carrey's around the corner and he might show you up. He's not really going to show you up when you know who you are, and you can still go out there and be you. So this shit was great. I love this. And okay. And where was we at in my script here? Okay, cool. So moving on from Keenan, we've got Jim Carrey. This one, I don't got to talk to you too much about. The chameleon of comedy and drama now. His role in Living Color, he was the one white character, and he often was playing the white guy, in some sketch, but he was leading sketch after sketch. He came in with lots of great ideas. And from Fire Marshal Bill and Vera Milo, I forgot that I didn't even actually add Vera Milo into the main, into my top 20 sketches that I put, and then most of them are ongoing sketches from this show. 20, only 5 seasons of this show, and it was like a fucking half an hour show. But there's that many good sketches. It's that fucking good. Post in Living Color, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, Liar Liar, Bruce Almighty, then more dramatic roles like Truman Show and Man on the Moon and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, or more recent things where he's Dr. Robotnik in Sonic the Hedgehog, Kidding on the Showtime series, and Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond, great documentary worth checking out. David Alan Grier, who's a personal favorite of mine from the show, he was such a versatile fucking virtuoso, man. I mean, he was known for Calhoun Tubbs on the show and Antoine Merriweather of Men on Film, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. But post the show, he was in Boomerang, he was in Jumanji, as I mentioned, Stuart Little, The Woodsman, which I've never seen, The Big Sick, television roles on Martin, on DAG, The Carmichael Show, The Black Lady Sketch Show, which is apparently still going on right now. I've heard about it, but I haven't actually seen it yet. And then in theater accomplishments, he got a Tony Award for A Soldier's Play in 2020, which is really, I'm sure that's 2020, years later. I'm sure he's really fucking proud of that. And nominations for The First, Race in 2009, and Porgy and Bess in 2012. He deserves it. He really is like an understated hero of the Living Color show. He was fucking awesome and remains so this day. Another one of those was Tommy Davidson, who I adore. He's a very dynamic performer. He was known for a lot of impressions. He did a lot of really great impressions and characters like Sweet Tooth Jones, who's cool. But post in Living Color, he was in Strictly Business, Booty Call, Woo, Bamboozled, Black Dynamite. That's a favorite of mine. I got to do one of those. Juwanna Mann. He's got a great part in Juwanna Mann. He's the dude. If you remember, he wears a grill. He's like I think he's a rapper, and he's in love with this man dressed as a woman, and he's kind of have some filet mignon with some strawberries. Like this weird lisp. He's fucking hysterical, Tommy Davidson. Anytime he shows up, you're going to laugh. And voice work, he's done a lot. He was voice of Oscar Proud in The Proud Family and The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, which was like the comeback of that show. Tons of appearances on Martin, The Bernie Mac Show, Sharknado 4, The Fourth Awakens. And then his stand-up specials. He's a comedian. He's fucking funny. Tommy Davidson, Ill in Philly. Tommy Davidson taking it to D.C. Worth watching. He's a funny guy. Jamie Foxx, as mentioned. And I mean, from fucking sketch comedy to Oscar glory, this dude's done it all. And music, great music. He was known really well for Wanda, which we're going to talk about that later. And a lot of people have like fucking, shit on Wanda these days and what Wanda represented because she was like an ugly girl being played by a man. But there's a lot more to that than is appreciated by a lot of people. Stefan said, I had a dog back in the day that we named Homie specifically because of Living Color. Oh, Homie the Clown. We're going to get to some Homie the Clown in just a minute. But yeah, Jamie was fucking great. And Jamie was a late edition cast member. I think he showed up in the second or third season. And as soon as he came in, it was like, holy fuck, who is this guy? He was that great and came in just as confidently as the other guys. There were some later cast members who came in like third, fourth, fifth season that did not hit the way Jamie Foxx did. But Jamie Foxx hit just as great as Tommy Davidson and David Alan Grier and all the Wayans family members and fucking Carrey. I mean, really, these guys just rule my school. Such a fan of all of them. And I mean, Academy Award winning performances. He was in fucking Ray and Collateral. He was playing fucking Ray Charles, and he won an award for that one, Best Actor. He played Max Duracher. What is his character's name? Duracher. He was the taxi driver in Collateral with Tom Cruise, and he earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Role. Django Unchained, Baby Driver. I fucking love that movie. Great movie. He's great in it. Just Mercy. Soul, where he voiced the main character. My son was just watching the Pixar film the other day. Great unsung Pixar movie, one of the few great ones of the later Pixar era of movies. And then Spider-Man No Way Home, where he got to reprise his role as Max Dillon. And I really liked the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, and I appreciated him, even though I hated the look and hated so much of the things. But I like Jamie Foxx, man. Jamie Foxx charms the fuck out of me. I'm a Jamie Foxx fan. And then television and music, of course, there was a Jamie Foxx show because he's fucking Jamie Foxx and he's that great, man. He's released multiple R&B albums, including Unpredictable and Intuition. He's put out some good music. He really has. Worth checking out. Not to mention the dude can sing. Oh yeah, he can sing with the best. He's got a great fucking voice. They take my money when I'm in need. Yeah, that's Jamie, if you don't know, on that Kanye West song, Gold Digger. Kim Wayans, multifaceted talent. She's fucking awesome. She's known for Benita Bottrell on the show and Laquita. She had a lot of characters that she would do. They're great. We're going to talk about those in a little bit. But she would show up making great appearances and Don't Be a Menace to South Central. And Pariah, Dance Flick, she had a part. Of course, the Wayans family always sticks together, but she deserves more roles. She is underrated. She is a great comedic actress. Television roles, she has had a lot more success. In the House, Reckless, on New Girl, she had some guest appearances. And behind the scenes, she directed episodes for series like My Wife and Kids and The Neighborhood, and others, I'm pretty sure. And then there's Takia Crystal Kamen, who I said, she's unsung a bit. She was kind of quiet. She would play this little girl character a lot, and she was great. She, was on the Cosby Show, 96 to 2000, playing Erica Lucas. That's So Raven. She was Tanya Baxter. The Cool Crystal Show, she was the creator and host of that one. And that's 2020 to present, so you can check her out on that. I haven't been able to see her on that yet, but she's great. She deserves your time. You can always tell she was an intellect. She was very smart about, the way she would go about her comedy. She was a little, just more subdued and meek compared to some of the performers on the show. But she was great, and her presence was always known in any sketch she was in. And in film appearances, Jackie Brown in a featured role, Sharknado 4 again. Then you got Kim Coles, who's a comedic powerhouse. She's great. She's gone on to do a lot of different things. Mainly, you would know Kim Coles from Living Single. That it was a TV show from 93 to 98. She was one of the main stars. She was Sinclair James Jones. She was great. And Frasier, guest appearances, Black Lady sketch show, reoccurring roles. That one's still going to now. See people sticking together. And then film appearances in Strictly Business, Kids in America. All these things worth your time. These performers are really fucking awesome. And, they proved it on The Living Color. And every time they show up anywhere, I'm always glad to see them. Also, you got Jennifer Lopez from the Fly Girls. Of course, Jennifer Lopez has become fucking iconic as fuck. I'm going to actually skip over the shit because as I was making her fucking thing and listing these things, I was just like, fuck this bitch. Fuck P. Diddy's girl. I know that she's involved in shit that she shouldn't have fucking been involved in. I know that she's been doing some nefarious shit behind the scenes. I know that she was one of the earliest uses of Autodyne and the computers fixing people's voices to make them sound better. She could not sing to save her life. She was a dancer. The whole music project that she had, it was all put around her. This was great writers writing songs from her to make her look great. She doesn't deserve to be fucking lifted up by me. Damon Wayans, the comedy craftsman. Homie the Clown, Blaine Edwards. There are so many great Damon Wayans parts, and I'm going to talk about some of these later. And Blaine is one of the men on film. But from, he became a movie star for a little while, and there's a ton of movies that I really like from that time, comedy movies and even action movies, because he was really handsome, very charming. And there's a bunch of movies that weren't exactly comedy movies, like The Last Boy Scout, which I fucking love, Mo Money, Blank Man, which was loosely based on a sketch, which we're going to get into, Handyman, in a second, and eventually turned into a movie. Patty Parker said, "Love how honest and awesome you are." Oh, it's easy to be honest and awesome when you're talking about people who are great. And that's why I started this show, so I could talk about the things that I love. Sometimes I'm fucking, poking holes in the boat for some of the bullshit that they're putting out right now in entertainment. But my favorite episodes of Coolest Geek Alive are when I get to talk about the shit that I love. And I love me some In Living Color, man. Major Payne's a funny one. I've watched that with my kids pretty recently. Celtic Pride, Bulletproof, The Great White Hype, Bamboozled, Marcy X, Farce of the Penguins. Farce of the Penguins. He was one of the voices in Farce of the Penguins. Farce of the Penguins is a fun movie, worth watching. Television roles, My Wife and Kids. He starred with Michael Kyle. Lethal Weapon. He played Roger Murtaugh. That's the Danny Glover role. And Happy Together, we played Mike. And Papa's House, who my buddy just mentioned. I got to watch Papa's House. And he is Papa. I got to check it out. Shawn Wayans, who's a multifaceted talent, man. I mean, again, Shawn and some of these guys, played smaller parts in Living Color, and you won't necessarily see them right from the beginning. But Sean was the DJ at the very beginning of the thing, and often he was playing sort of like extra little side roles and stuff, and eventually got to play some roles himself, like some more main roles in Living Color, if you go all the way into the 4th and 5th seasons. So, he's in Don't Be a Menace in South Central, Scary Movie 1 and 2, White Chicks, Little Man, Dance Flick, the Wayans brothers with his brother, Wayne Head as a voice role, and Thugaboo in 2006, A Miracle on D Rock Street. I hadn't watched that one, but I just was trying to put together some of these things in case you watched it. Maybe, you're like, oh yeah, I know who that is. Marlon Wayans, of course, his brother, the other Wayans brother, Above the Rim, The Sixth Man, Requiem for a Dream. He's done some dramatic roles, and he's actually really surprised me how great he's done some of these dramatic roles. Scary Movie and Scary Movie 2, White Chicks, Little Man, Norbit, G.I. Joe and the Rise of Cobra, A Haunted House 2, 50 Shades of Black, Naked, Sextuplets, On the Rocks, Respect, Air, The Wayans Brothers, Marlon, Bel Air. Dude rules. And then you got people like Kelly Cofield Park, who is a super versatile actress. She showed up in so many different things, from fucking Field of Dreams, which I think was before In Living Color, Quiz Show, Jerry Maguire, Scary Movie, The Specials, Undercover Brother. That's a good one. Bride Wars, The Beaver, television roles on Seinfeld, on Wings, My Wife and Kids, and Kidding. She's excellent. We'll talk about one of her most famous sketches in a little bit. And then, of course, Paula Abdul, which we don't really got to get into her fucking whole thing, but, she's a big deal. She's made a lot of music. She's very cool, but doesn't necessarily have, like, a lot to do with the comedy and the shit that I'm really trying to encourage here, which is why I wasn't talking about fucking Jennifer Lopez's whole career as well. But, yeah, she's a big deal. Anyway, let's get past the talking about the actors, and let's talk about these sketches. Now, if you want, you could go and you could watch these sketches, one at a time. There are some super cuts of Fire Marshal Bill and Homie the Clown and Men on Film and all these things. But really, you got to watch the show. It's just viciously consistent. It's so fucking good. And, the early seasons, it was just sketch after sketch after sketch of mind blown. And me talking about these things, like, they're so iconic, they're so amazing. The rapid nature when you go to watch season 1 of In Living Color, of how much iconic thing after iconic thing after iconic thing after iconic thing is going on that show. I mean, it's your mouth. We often talk about, like, people who are like these dynamo people, like Eminem, who changed the face of rap, not on a fucking white level, because that's some bullshit. Really his voice and the way he rapped, the way he went about this, it was really important. He was so, he just changed the fucking game, similar to the way Michael Jordan changed the game, or somebody like Michael Jackson changed the game. There are certain names, Muhammad Ali, who come up as like, that guy was a game changer. This show was a game changer like that. And just, you can't appreciate it until you sit down and you watch the first fucking season and you just go, wow, holy crap. How much brilliance can one cast bring out in each other? It's just one thing after another after another. Oh, you're sweet. Nice compliments in the chat there. And yes, Requiem was a super, super duper creep. I hate that movie. It's a great movie, but I don't like movies that disturb me. Requiem for a Dream just disturbed the fuck out of me. So don't think you're going to go watch Requiem for a Dream and find a lot of laughs. There's not a lot of laughs there. But let's get into what are my top 20 sketches. And I didn't necessarily put these like in order, like a little bit of order, like in sort of like how I was remembering them. But like, as I was sort of like getting them, and some of them as I went and I started watching clips and stuff, I went, oh, I gotta add that. Oh, I gotta add that. Oh, I gotta add that. And those guys, didn't necessarily get into the first or second or third spot because I remembered them later. They just kind of got added in on the back end. So, forgive me that this isn't exactly like an ordered list of what the best is. But you know what? More the better, to encourage you to just go fucking watch the show, because it's such a great show. 1, Homie the Clown. Oh my God. Damon Wayans, ex-con clown who refuses to conform? I don't think so. Homie, don't play that. Carrying around a long sock filled with like baking powder or baking soda and clobbering his fellow castmates over the head, usually as they were playing children. Homie the clown. I don't think so. And the whole thing about Homie the clown was he was playing a clown, but he was completely unwilling to do anything that would disrespect himself. He was unwilling to disrespect himself in any way, shape, or form. And from there, hilarity ensues. And I mean, just every sketch, it would be like, oh, homie, are you going to take the pie and put it in your face? You want Homie the clown to take this pie, put it in my face, dirty myself, to subjugate myself for you? I don't think so. Smack! And I'm just paraphrasing some, example of what the sketches would be. But clowns traditionally are made fools of. But he was unwilling to be made into a clown. And that made for so many funny sketches. And what great delivery from Damon Wayans. To this day, if they made a Homie the Clown movie, I would race to the theater to see it on opening weekend. Homie the Clown. Again, if you're not gonna go and watch a freaking supercut, you could watch a supercut of the Homie the Clown sketches, and they're glorious. They're glorious. Number 2, Fire Marshal Bill. Jim Carrey's safety-obsessed but badly burned, but very badly burned character who is demonstrating various hazardous scenarios. Let me show you something. Where he would create a terrible situation and often burn down the entire set anything ablaze in order to demonstrate, even if he had set himself on fire, how dangerous a scenario was. Oh, you think this is safe, do you? Let me show you something. And just the gangly Ace Ventura persona that you saw, it's not Ace. It's a completely different character. But just the way he would contort his body, and I mean, this is on display in basically every sketch that he was in. But in particular, Fire Marshal Bill. I mean, that is the one that everybody, I think, would come away maybe second to the Venus de Milo, which I don't actually have that one here in my top 20, and it should be here, which was where he was the bodybuilder. He was a female bodybuilder posing, making these terrible faces with these little pigtails. Venus de Milo. It's another really good one. Worth checking out. All the Venus de Milos are doing this very deep girl voice. It was great. Great stuff. I knew it was going to make my day talking about it in living color today because I fucking love this show. 3, Men on Film. Men on Film is perhaps the sketch that I have quoted the most in my life and still quote the most in my life. The 3 snaps in Z formation. They had just so many quotable lines, and they come out of me all the time. I can't recall all of them at the same time right now. What did I write down here? This was David Wayans and David Allen Greer. Oh, he's so great, and just the two of them together, especially because they do have different energy and uniquely different energy, and each of they're playing a similar kind of gay stereotype, but it was unique. It was unique to each of them, and their outfits that they would wear were just so over the top fashion, and just the movies they would choose to talk about. I remember they were talking about Waterworld, talking about Kevin Costner. They were just so into all of the male stars of the day in such a glorious way. It really did. My friend Stephen in the comments said this show really paved the way for many. It did. It's so much. And I fucking hate when anybody wants to go back in time and be like, oh, you couldn't do that today. And these gay guys making fun of gay. It wasn't. In a lot of degrees, they were opening up to the door to acceptance of gay culture. Plenty of fucking gay people are like that. I'm non-binary. I don't fucking like to talk. I mean, I really don't like to label myself and label people like that. I only ever talk about it in the conversation of like when people are starting to go, oh, you can't do that to gay people. Fuck you. I'm a member of the gay community. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not a fucking straight white man. That's not my typical. I am not typical. I never thought of myself as typical, even though I like girls. But that doesn't mean that I think of myself as a man. I was always very flamboyant, and I would be accused of being gay by friends and girls when I would ask them out sometimes. I'd be like, aren't you gay? It's like, no, what the fuck? I have a limp wrist sometimes. We have to be able to have a fucking sense of humor about ourselves and about the community. I saw a great thing about, how Jewish people are some of the funniest people on planet Earth, and they have terrible sense of humor. The moment you try to joke about the Jews, it's like a problem. Like, fuck, that's true. Fuck that shit. That's bullshit, man. It's like we should be able to joke about everybody and everything equally, and we can't be going, not my people, not my group. None of that. Fuck that shit. And if you've got a sense of humor, go watch yourself some Men on Film, man. Men on Film. Oh, God, it's so fucking funny. One of the greatest sketches. Probably my favorite, actually, if I'm really properly listing my thing. I made the choice to not bother to put it in order, but Men on Film is the one that has stuck with me the longest, and it deserves your time. I'm sure I challenge any gay man to go watch Men on Film, and you will not be offended. You will be like, this is amazing. I fucking love this. This is awesome. It is awesome. Stefan said another great comment. Comedy is sacred. It makes you laugh, but also puts you in a position where you need to think critically. I hate what's happening to comedy of today. Yeah, fucking amen. Amen. Beautiful. Chef's kiss on that comment. So then you got Wanda. I think she's Wanda Wayne, which is Jamie Foxx's character. The ugly girl. He would put his lips in this curl where they would just, you could see all his teeth, and Jamie's got a decent mouthful of teeth, and he would get as much gum showing as possible, and his lips would just be all It was really unattractive, this thing that he would do with his lips. And he's this man dressed as this woman, very, very, not flamboyantly, but brightly colored, hair over the top, nails over the top. Everything about her was just so over the top feminine, but as made into a monster, kind of the way my father and Twisted Sister would dress up as women. He was just a scary man, a scary woman. And, I rock your world, baby. He had a lot of little catchphrases that he would say. I'll rock your world. I'll rock your world. He was just so over the top in the delivery of every line. And I'd written here, modern standards, have tended to suggest that this sketch is now inappropriate, but it's total fucking bullshit. The humor was often in the fact that Wanda was offering exactly what men traditionally wanted: sex. She was primed. She was ready to go. But because of her unorthodox looks, the men would normally have been interested in sex, but now all of a sudden they weren't. And the idea that these horny men were now racing away from the very thing they wanted brought about a lot of humor and demonstrated the superficial culture that we live in a wonderful way. And to deny the culture of superficiality, that's stupid, is to deny just so much of reality. And, these sketches were brilliant then, and they're still worthy of your time now. And I mean, even, I remember the sketches kind of, as they progressed, they would bring in famously horny people. I seem to remember there was one time where they had, I think Jim Carrey was Dracula. And at first he was I'm going to seduce you. And then she started trying to seduce him. And he was like, oh, never mind. Jumping over themselves to try to get out of this sex scenario that a moment ago they were interested in. And now, no. I wanted sex, but not with you. Great stuff. Great stuff. And Jamie Foxx's performance, awesome. Do not deprive Jamie of his greatest fucking addition to the Living Color mythos, Wanda. Oh, Wanda is great. Those sketches still hold up. They're really, really funny. All right, number 5, I got the Homeboy Shopping Network. This will kick us off on the pairing of Damon Wayans with his brother, Kenan. Because they're brothers, they've got just such a great repartee, a great back and forth between them. And this one is no exception. And one of my favorites, the Homeboy Shopping Network. Basically, you got these streetwise entrepreneurs played by Damon and Kenan selling questionable merchandise, i.e. stolen merchandise, and nearly getting arrested by the end of every sketch. This is where the term mo money comes from, and also, we got the hookup. The sketch was just great, man. You know, they'd be sitting there looking around constantly. It's reminiscent of some of the people on the street who maybe you've bought a stolen handbag from or a knockoff handbag from, constantly checking over their shoulders just in case the police were around the corner, and every sketch would end that way. All right, we got to get out of here, but join us next time where we're going to have some really great stuff to sell you guys. It was real, it was edgy, and that was what made In Living Color so great. They weren't afraid to say anything that was true, that was real. That was real. These were real people who existed in our world, and they embodied them deliciously. What a great series of sketches that was. There's plenty of Homeboy Shopping Network sketches, and with all of these ones that I've said so far, Wanda, Men on Film, Fire Marshal Bill, Homie the Clown. These are all. There's not just one that you can find. There's a bunch of them, and basically, I think my whole list is those kind of sketches. Another one that I quote to this day, number 6 on my list, is the Headleys. The Headleys were a Jamaican family who were always boasting about how many jobs they had. I got 10 jobs, man. And the sketch that I always just remembered fondly, and I would talk about it so often because I have a lot of jobs. My father has a lot of jobs. We wear a lot of hats. We do a lot of things. And most of the people in our world tend to do a lot of jobs and do a lot of things. And it was this badge of honor in the Jamaican families, how many jobs you had. So one day, their daughter, who I think was played by Kim Coates, she comes home or comes to tell them. I think eventually they did bring the boyfriend to dinner, but she comes home to tell them that she's got a new boyfriend. He's a doctor. He makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and they want to know, how many jobs does he have? Well, one, Mom. He's a doctor, and one job. He's got one job. Lazy bones. This lazy doctor. He's making great money, but he's only got one job. So to the Jamaican family, that's just not enough. And fuck, man. Yes, thank you. Round of applause for Living Color and their brilliance. Fucking love that Gem show. Love fucking Headleys. The Headleys, they were great. Number 7, you've got Velma Mulholland, which is the one real standout for Kelly Cofield Parks. This was a dramatic film noir character who I think they even whether it was with makeup or whatever else, she looked like black and white. And she would come out and she would choose scenery and navigate her love life, sometimes often with random people, but doing this really over the top portrayal, like the most classic black and white movie dame you'd ever seen. Oh, Clarence, I don't know if I'll be able to get over this. Just completely over the top. Clearly, she was very into those sorts of movies, and and had a love for that stuff. And she would bring it into every one of the sketches, and it was always just funny seeing her come and do this over the top performance, playing off against one of the other cast members who just was not prepared for this dame to walk out of A Streetcar Named Desire and start hitting on her or talking in all these weird and everybody would just kind of be like, what the fuck is wrong with this lady? And that was awesome. Brought about so much great comedy. So number 8, another one of my favorites, another one that I quote all the time, Calhoun Tubbs, played by David Allen Greer, who was a blues musician with humorous songs. He would just basically, whatever situation he was in, a lot of times he was insulting people. He'd find somebody would piss him off, bother him or whatever. And this was based on a real blues musician. And he would play this little song. And he would just be like, one time I met a lady of the night, and it did not go as I planned. I wrote a song about it. Want to hear it? Here it goes. One time I went out with a prostitute. Now I got VD. Thank you very much. And that was the sketch, over and over and over. There'd be some setup, and it would conclude at some time with him singing this little blues number that he had just concocted out of nowhere that would comment directly on what was going on in the moment. And these sketches were always fucking hysterical. David Allen Greer, like I told you, he's one of my favorites from In Living Color. I wish he was more beloved as I love him, because I wanted to see him in more things. And there's all of the characters on the show who did not, show up in more and more things. They're all great. Who I was just talking about, Kelly Cofield Park. She was the lone white woman on the show, and she's excellent. I think she played like the principal in the Scary Movie film franchise, at least in the first one. She's awesome whenever she shows up. And all right, moving on to the next one, we've got 9 Dirty Dozens. This was a game show that was centered around trading witty insults, and this was always really funny, especially for me as like a kid. I wasn't great at like the comebacks when people would be like messing with me or anything, so I'd be like studying this show whenever they would do these sketches, because there was always so many funny jokes. Your mama's so fat jokes and things like that. And actually, I remember they had brought in Al Bundy, who was like, I think on the same network. And he, in Married with Children, was the main character, Al Bundy, and he's the character that went on to play the dad from Modern Family, the older dad, who's with the pretty younger lady. I'm forgetting the characters' names, but he showed up as like the Grand Master, the reigning champion of the show, in a little guest star role, which was very, very funny. And to this day, all of their insults hold up. So go watch the Dirty Dozen if you want to learn how to properly insult another person. Then you got Handyman, which I mentioned earlier. This is my number 10. Damon Wayans, his superhero with disabilities. Never underestimate the power of the handicapped. Yes, awesome. And he would usually show up like when a handicapped person was in need. Like he was specifically the superhero assigned to handicapped people. So there was no ramp for your wheelchair. That's okay. Handyman is here. It was excellent. And the movie Blank Man, which isn't really as funny as the sketches. The sketches of Handyman are excellent and really funny. In the first bit, one of the things that I rewatched this morning, and I had to write this down because it was just really, really a great... it just shows that all the same fucking jokes that we're making now have been being made for forever, and they were there to be made then, and it was just a great moment. I said this sketch also famously at one time introduced Angry Woman, the world's only... Oh, wait a second. Sorry. So apparently I accidentally recorded myself saying a bunch of things that I didn't want to say. That was here. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Delete. There we go. Now I fixed my whole script. So Angry Woman, who was the world's only black feminist lesbian superhero, played by Kim Wayans. And she stood up just with a toughness and like just embodying that quintessential role, the angry black lesbian feminist. It was a meme back then in the mid-90s just as much as it has become one now. And shit, man, what's funny then is still funny now. Funny is fucking funny, man. And I said this sketch eventually became the Blank Man movie starring Damon Wayans. And let's move on. Okay, 11, The Brothers. Oh, that's a good one. A satirical take on racial identity featuring 2 black brothers who act very white. And they act as white as possible as to keep the old school white audience comfortable on primetime TV. They represent a lot of black actors who, through no fault of their own, were cast on TV and in films, ages earlier to be a safe introduction to the black community. These are people who, had come to have the term, Uncle Tom, people who were playing to the white community very softly, playing things more white so that they would blend in and fit better into the more white-oriented, very not diverse sort of entertainment that was being made at the time. And, famously, Damon and Keenan Wayans both playing these brothers. Their dynamic is amazing. And they're both, it's Tom and Tom. They were named after their uncle Tom. Great shit. They're always playing music too, and everything's to song, and they're all like these really simple songs, but very, very funny. I really, this was one of the ones that like was added to my list today as I was reminded of their sketches. And I was like, or actually, it had come up in a list that I was like searching for of some of the best sketches. And then I was like, which one's that one? And when I went to go type it in, I went, oh, the Brothers. Fuck yeah. They're brothers who are brothers. 12, The Dysfunctional Home Show. A parody of home improvement shows of the time with a dysfunctional family dynamic. Jim Carrey famously played Grandpa McGee. He's excellent. These were always good. They were reoccurring sketches. I didn't rewatch any of these, but they were really good. I remember them being really fun. 13, Miss Benita Bottrell. This is one of the Kim Wayans sketches that was so great. She was basically your neighborhood gossip who says, "But I ain't one to gossip, so you didn't hear that from me." And she would say that usually at least 3 or 4 times in the course of the sketch, whilst gossiping about everybody. People would just be walking by in the neighborhood, and she'd turn, look directly to the camera, and be like, "Psst, that bitch," and just rail on this person, usually against whatever type they were playing. There was a clip that I saw earlier today when I was refreshing where she was commenting on this news reporter, and she's like, "Oh, you news reporters, you so smart, you going out doing the room." And she's like, "She's dumb as a rock." She's like, she takes her 24 hours to count to 20 or some bullshit. But very, very funny. These sketches were really memorable, and I've definitely thought about them over and over again fondly in my life whenever anybody's gossiping. I remember Miss Benita Bottrell. I'm like, there's the local Benita Bottrell. And of course, she would always talk about Miss Jenkins, who she was trying to talk about. She would always be like, "Miss Jenkins, like, don't talk bad about Miss Jenkins when I'm around." But then by the end of the sketch, she would always end up talking bad about Miss Jenkins, of course. Another great David Alan Grier character was Al McAfee. He was this overzealous shop teacher with a bullhorn and a bad hip that he was always complaining about and telling everybody about who would listen. He was a creeper on all the other teachers. He made every student's life harder and just embodied the truly annoying guy who's just way too confident for his own good and too wrapped up in his own fucking world to have any empathy for other people. Very, very funny. All these sketches I was watching, I ended up going like halfway through a whole like supercut of all those sketches because I was enjoying it. Number 15, you got Anton Jackson, who is one of 2 characters like this. We're going to get to the other one in a second that Damon Wayans played. This one was a homeless philosopher who would always be offering streetwise wisdom, and he was really great. He was just, it's like he wasn't quite on drugs, he wasn't quite wasted, but he'd always had something to offer, but he'd always be sort of misunderstanding and misinterpreting his interactions with people. They would always just put him into like these very normal scenarios where he just looked awful and like couldn't really properly communicate or relate to all the people in the scenario. Really great performances by Damon as this character. And then the head detective, number 16, that was another great Damon Wayans one. He was just a head. Damon Wayans was the head. And I think his partner was usually played by Keenan Ivory Wayans. And the funny thing was, the comedy would usually come from other people being stupid or whatever else. He was a straight man. He was a head detective, but his character was completely straight, played completely straight. He was a head detective, just a head with some little feet underneath him, like a Mr. Potato Head, and some little rubber arms, holding a gun, always holding a gun. But he was a grizzled detective, playing it like a typical police show. But the scenarios would be funny. Like he would show up in a safe and like waiting for him in the safe where the robber was going to steal the money. Here he was. "I knew I'd get you. I'd catch you here." I love comedy like that when things are played really, really straight, even though the scenario that like built it is completely ridiculous. Head detective, great one. 17, we're getting some more of the ones that I was reminded of today that I hadn't remembered but were great. Mr. Rogers, public deviant. Played by Jim Carrey, he would be doing things that we would hope Mr. Rogers would never be caught doing, like buying porn or picking up a prostitute. Famously would quote, he would say, "Tell anyone you want to, they'll never believe you. I'm Mr. Rogers." Nobody would ever believe that Mr. Rogers was getting up to all these shenanigans. And a really lovely, not perfect, but perfect enough Mr. Rogers impression by Jim Carrey. 18, Oswald Bates. This was another one played by Damon Wayans, and this is the other one that was similar to his Anton character, but different. Basically, he was a criminal philosopher sharing his wisdom from his jail cell, which is just such a funny thing. The idea of this sage wisdom coming from this guy in a jail cell. It's like, "Oh yeah, you're so wise. What are you doing in this jail cell?" But even better than that, he had just like a really limited grasp of the English language, though loquacious he was, and he would be trying to use all of these big words, not being able to use them properly. And there was a really particularly funny episode where Hillary Clinton, played by Kelly Caulfield, shows up, and she's communicating with him in the same way, using big words that she doesn't exactly understand the meaning of, but they totally understand each other. No communication problems whatsoever. Just like, just seeing eye to eye, totally get each other. Great stuff. Great stuff. Great stuff. Getting towards the end of my list now, we've got the Make a Death Wish Foundation, another great Jim Carrey one where he was parodying Charles Bronson in the Death Wish films, and but he's like the head of his own Make-A-Wish Foundation-like organization, where he intimidates people into letting children do whatever the fuck their heart desires, even if it's dangerous, like flying a plane or getting out into pro sports and playing with the pros. Anything that the kid wanted to do as their last wish, he would show up, with a gun and pistol whip somebody, punch him in the stomach, force them to allow the small child to do the wish that he has made, no matter what it took. And those sketches were great, and the Charles Bronson impressions by Jim Carrey were fucking priceless. Okay, finally, the last one for me here is number 20, a parade of timely 90s parody. Tons of them. They and like this is just sort of like I'm putting them into like a group, because for you, if you didn't grow up in the 90s, this might be a little hard for you to appreciate some of these. But a lot of them are still funny, even if you can't appreciate what they're parodying, because they're just fundamentally funny what they did. But a lot of them are more easy to appreciate if you appreciated some of the pop culture, some of the commercials, some of the music that was coming out during the 90s. Things like Snow. He had a song called Informer, which they renamed Imposter, and Jim Carrey played Snow. Informer, but it was Imposter. And he was just basically rapping about sort of being a white guy invading the hip-hop world. And also, famously, Jim did Ice Ice Baby. I forget what the parody of that song was called, but Jim Carrey playing Vanilla Ice, worth watching, worth seeking out, especially if you're not going to watch all of these wonderful In Living Color seasons or episodes. It's a great one. Also, you got Tommy Lee Davidson as Michael Jackson. I mentioned that at the beginning of the episode. The parody of the videos for malt liquor at the time. There's a great Keenan Ivory Wayans doing Arsenio Hall. He used to do Arsenio Hall a lot. But there was a sketch called Arsenio Hall of Justice, parodying the judge shows at the time, which are largely the same as the judge shows nowadays. Very, very, very funny. Complete with audiences whooping, doing their little helicopter fists in the air, whoop, 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 when he would come in. And, and he was the prosecuting attorney, the Arsenio Hall of Justice. Also on this list, that I made of these parody bits that were, just kind of all fell into the same category, was a Gene commercial with Jamie Foxx doing a great Prince impression, and this was I think called it was like butt out jeans or something like that, and sticking your butt out, make you look like you get a big butt. The black version of the Hollywood Squares, that was a great one. This broadcast comedy show humor. It was very timely. And there was a ton of this stuff that was all commercials and all of this stuff that was going on at the moment that was most famous, they would parody in one way or another at some point. And the impressionists on the show, from Tommy Davidson and Jim Carrey, they were a great group, and they were able to do some great impressions. Everything close enough for horseshoes and hand grenades. Worthy of your time. Let's see, just to wrap this shit up. And there's plenty more, some of which won't mean quite as much to you if you're not aware of the music commercials and TV shows of the time that were being parodied, but still quite funny in most cases. There are so many more great ones. There are so many more great ones that are not on my list, like individual sketches and stuff, that didn't necessarily have a lot, like the Juice Mania sketch, which was a Jim Carrey sketch. Jim Carrey as background guy during the news. Like they would be shooting some news thing, and Jim Carrey would be in the background doing these things that were impossible to ignore, contorting his body and just like doing insane things. Damon Wayans' Wrath of Farrakhan parody. It was a Star Trek parody where instead of the Wrath of Khan, it was the Wrath of Farrakhan. Some great Jim Carrey doing Kirk, and David Alan Grier doing Spock. Excellent stuff. Also, karate instructor Bob Jackson, which is another Jim Carrey one, complete self-defense for women. Very funny. He's terrible at what he does. You know, he's giving them real knives, and they keep stabbing him because they're not exactly performing the maneuver the way he was planning on them performing it. And he's getting very frustrated that, you know, you're supposed to do it like this so that I can, you know, a straight arm, easy to block. As well as Black World, which is another one that I came to late, but Black World would come up a lot. And that was Takia Crystal Kima. And that was her little girl character. And she would just basically talk about the Black world from her perspective as a little girl in the Black community. It was painfully funny. Often, like, you know, just like talking about like people thinking that her mom didn't have the money to pay for things and stuff like that. Stuff that was funny, but funny from a place of visceral truth. That was kind of hard to hear, but awesome, amazing. You know, and this was the type of, like I said, you know, there was some real brains going on in that lady's head, but she was really funny and adorable with her little cute voice. This show was unlike most sketch comedy shows in that it was viciously consistent, as I've said a couple times now. If we stopped to talk about all of the greats, I'd be here all day. Truly, I really would. So let's close this up. I wrote like a little like closing bit for it. You know, this is the blueprint that changed everything. And let me break it down for you. In Living Color wasn't just a sketch show. It was a cultural revolution. It didn't tiptoe around the edges. It kicked the door wide open, redefined what comedy could be. Before, in Living Color, sketch comedy was largely homogenous. Then came Keenan Ivory Wayans and his crew, bringing a bold, unapologetic, and diverse perspective that the world had never seen. They tackled race, politics, and pop culture with a sharp wit and fearless attitude, setting the stage for shows like Chappelle's Show and Key and Peele. I'm telling you, Chappelle's Show, Key and Peele, they would not exist if not for In Living Color. This show didn't just entertain, it inspired. It launched the careers of legends like Jim Carrey, Jamie Foxx, and Jennifer Lopez, proving that talent knows no boundaries. The Fly Girls, choreographed by Rosie Perez, brought hip-hop dance to the mainstream, influencing music videos and performances for years to come. And let's not forget the sketches. Homie the Clown, Men on Film, Fire Marshal Bill. These weren't just funny, they were iconic, embedding themselves into the fabric of pop culture. And they helped launch a lot of these artists' music careers. Bands that they were into, people that weren't getting enough attention at the time, they helped these people to get more attention by featuring them, you know, in the credits of the show or somewhere in the show. There was a whole bunch of different artists who made appearances. I didn't come across that information to remind me as I was researching things to do the show today, but as I say it out loud right now, I just went, and they totally launched a ton of different musicians, and there were some people who I did end up enjoying and liking and did get into because of this show. So if you want to understand the roots of modern comedy, if you want to see where today's stars got their start, and if you want to experience a show that was truly ahead of its time, do yourself a favor. Watch In Living Color. Not tomorrow, not next week, tonight. Because this isn't just history. It's the foundation of the comedy we know and love today. Anyway, I'm Jesse Blaze Snider, and you've been listening to the Coolest Geek Alive. I hope you will join me on Wednesday when I do my Saturday episode, and I'll do a coolest pick this week, a coolest classic, actually, for I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. But also, I hope you're listening to my show every Monday, Everything They Don't Want You to Know, where I talk about all of the shit that the people in power right now do not want you to know, because if you knew it, they would not be able to control us so easily. And I don't like living in this world where we're so easy to fucking control. So please listen to everything that they don't want you to know, not for you, but for me, because I want to stay free. And if you don't know what they don't want you to know, then I'm going to have a hard time staying free. So for me, listen to the show, educate yourself on the things that you should fucking know. If they don't want you to know, believe me, you should know it. You want to know it. And also, let me just mention Sugar and Bones magazine, me, some of my favorite people in the world, some of my favorite artists in the world and writers in the world, like Aaron Sparrow and Digger Mesh and Steve Kurth and Todd Blackwood and tons of other great people are working on this awesome anthology magazine that we're going to be bringing you through Kickstarter quarterly. And we're putting it all together right now. I'm going to be like, right now I'm just pre-promoting it. You can go to bldsts.com to sign up for notifications. You can also buy copies of the previous books that my company, Blacklight District Studios, has released, like Fucking for Our Future #1, King of Kings #1, and I would love it if you did that. I really want people to read these books. I wrote them to make you fucking laugh. I wrote them to make the world a better place. And I hope that you will check all that shit out if you have the time to do so. So yeah, that's bldsts.com. That's blacklightdistrictstudios.com. Anyway, that about covers it. You can write to me at jessiblaze@jessesnider.com, and you can follow me on social media, Coolest Geek Alive, JBS, shit like that. You'll find it. Do a search, whatever else. And I hope you will join me again next Wednesday for another fucking awesome episode of the Coolest Geek Alive! Love you, Care Bear Stare. Peace out.
You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snider. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part! Isn't that heavy? I'll play that. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Coolest alive. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Stay with your tribe. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Revenge of the Geeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Week after weeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Laughing with you. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And crying sometimes too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Spelling it out. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Making you shout. I'm a genius. I got lyrics coming out me bum for days. You like that? It's a kazoo solo. I played that too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living your shit. My voice is fucking awesome. Food in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right or text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising the bar. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Straight to the stars. It's gonna be fucking awesome. It's starting soon. Straight to the top. Awesome. Passing the moon. It's gonna be fucking awesome. On with the show. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Ready, set, go. It's going to be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see.
The podcast playground. Hooray!